Hey guys, and welcome back to your one room schoolhouse. If you are new here, my name is Mary Barfield and I'm a homeschooling mom to a rising first grader and third grader. And we just finished up our second year of homeschooling for the year 2024 to 2025. In the last 6 weeks of our school, we decided to do a 6-week unit from Build Your Library called Prehistory. And today's video is going to be all about this unit study, giving you guys my insight into what I thought of it, talking about the books that we read, things that we changed a little bit, in my opinion, on what I would do differently if I would do it all over again. So if you are interested in this unit, stick around. I'm going to give you all the good inside details. So first off, before we get into the program, I want to talk a little bit about it, the logistics of it, why we chose it, all that good stuff. So Build Your Library is a secular PDF-based curriculum. She actually has curriculum for all 12 years, actually 13 if you include kindergarten. She has a level 0 around the world study that we did this year. I'll link the playlist above if you want to go check that out. We super enjoyed that this year. But she has full curriculum, but she also has these unit studies. She has literature bites, as she calls them, lit bites, like unit studies for different books. She has a lot of goodies outside of her standard just full curriculum. And this is one of them. So as I mentioned, since we were doing the level 0 around the world study this year with my 2 kiddos, I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, that level 0 curriculum is actually only 30 weeks. Her normal year-round curriculums are 36, just like any other standard year-round curriculum. And the reason she makes it only 30 weeks is because it's meant to be a gentle introduction to school for a young, like kindergartner. She says it's, I think, from 4 to 6 age group is what she recommends for it. So that left me with 6 weeks at the end of our school year that I wouldn't have anything for our main curriculum. So I was looking around because next year we plan to start our 4-year history cycle, starting with Ancients next year through Story of the World Volume 1. And I noticed that she also had a prehistory unit study that is 6 weeks. So 30 plus 6 gives you 36. I was like, perfect. This will round out our year so that we get a full year's curriculum. And it'll be perfect to do this right before we jump into Ancients next year, which it was. It worked out perfectly. It was seamless in that respect. The curriculum basically starts at the Big Bang, and then it moves through just the formation of the Earth, the universe. It walks through what the planet looked like at that time. Then it starts kind of moving into life on Earth, starting with blue-green algae, the single cell organism, moving into evolution. What does that look like as we evolved from amphibians in the water to walking on land to dinosaurs? There was a big boom from an asteroid, and a lot of things went extinct except for a lot of mammals didn't. So that's where then evolution started to make us mammals the ruling animal on the planet, until eventually you get to some hominins that turned into eventually Homo sapiens sapiens, which are us. And it ends at modern man. So that probably seems like a lot to do in 6 weeks. And that is a lot to do in 6 weeks. That is probably my only criticism, is that this could have easily been an 8 to 10 week unit, heck, even 12-week unit with how much was packed in here. Just a heads up, some weeks felt really overwhelming just to trying to get it all done. And then there were a few weeks that it felt like I could have added more to it. So if I would go back and do it over again, I would spread out the work a little differently and I would make it longer. I would kind of even out the weeks, and then I would extend the weeks that we would have done this. Beyond that, I really didn't have any complaints about it. Everything else was great. I just felt that the timing was a little off and it felt rushed in some senses and then not rushed in others. That was the only thing that I would ever change about it. One thing I will mention is that because I've got younger kiddos, I feel like this would have been better for older kiddos. I feel like kids in middle school would have gotten a lot out of this, to give you some frame of reference. There were a few things that I ended up cutting out for my girls, and I excused my youngest daughter from some of the readings because they were either too mature or she just couldn't sit still long enough for them, to be honest. Again, we kind of try to follow a Charlotte Mason philosophy when it comes to our scheduling in our homeschool, which means we like to do shorter lessons, like more of them, but shorter amounts. And this kind of was killing that. We were sitting here for an hour just trying to cram everything in, and that was with us rushing. Like, we could have done this for 3 hours a day in some of the weeks. I'm not kidding. So again, I think it's a great program. I don't want to deter anybody from doing it, but keep that in mind so that you can schedule appropriately. You have time to go down rabbit trails, pre-read the books and make sure that it makes sense for your kiddos. And I'll dive into the books here in a second and kind of explain what I mean by that. So let's get into the books. I'll tell you my favorites, my not favorites, things that would change about them or maybe skip, or just, hey, a heads up, this happens in this book. So the first one I want to talk about is the main spine of the program. It's the Usborne Encyclopedia of World History. This is literally the best book. I loved it. My girls loved it. It has amazing pictures in it. It has bite-sized bits of information. But the best part is that it has internet links. So you go to the website that they have and they're included with this. And there are so many more additional links you can go down the rabbit hole with. So if there was a topic my kids really loved, we delved into those links. So what I would do is we would do this before lunch. And as I'm making lunch, I would set up the things so they could just click on the links and go, and they got so much out of this book. They really liked the book itself, but also the links that accompanied it with it. So I'm so glad to hear that, because this is also going to be our main spine for the next 4 years for our first cycle of history. So it's good to know they like it, because they're going to be stuck with it for another 4 years. Next is another spine. I got this from thriftbooks.com. It's Fossils for Kids. I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of have a lukewarm feeling about this book. The girls kind of felt the same, and they're really into fossils. I think it's just, the reason is because it's a lot of words and not as much pictures, which I've got young kiddos, and it's fossils. You want to see a lot more pictures. It does have them in there. I'm not like saying it doesn't have photos, but it was kind of lacking in the artistic representation of the photo or of the fossils. So it was good to get information out of, but it might have been a little bit too high level for my youngest. My oldest was getting it, but even then she's got a good attention span. Even her, I would see her kind of going, are we gonna be done with this book yet? It was one of those, right? I think it's a good book. I just think for my age kiddos, it was probably a little too much. And so with that, I'm gonna keep it in case we come back around to this topic and put it as a reference book in my library, like maybe when they're in middle school. This would be great for that. Another book we really enjoyed was one that we brought in for the first week. I was able to get this from my library, so I'll leave a picture here. It was called How Much is a Million? And they do it in the first book, or in the first week, because that's when you're really trying to understand the concept of 4.4 billion years ago, there was a big bang. Little kids have a hard time understanding million, billion. They have a hard time understanding 1,000, like really conceptually understanding it. This book really helps them with that conceptuality of really like how long has the earth been around and how much of a small time have humans been on the planet. So it kind of gives them that perspective. Basically, it's a cute picture book, and the girls really enjoyed it, and it really kind of set the stage for understanding timeline. Next is a book we actually added in, because you know we like to add in other things from our own library. We added in Magic Treehouse #1, Dinosaurs Before Dawn, or Before Dark, for week 2, because that's when dinosaurs get introduced in the topic. These are easy reads. My oldest daughter read some of this, I read some of it, and they're quick and fast. We did 2 chapters a day, and it's only 10 chapters, so we got it done over the week. It was perfect, and my youngest really liked this. She appreciated bringing this in for her. So if you got a little bit of a younger kiddo, bring in this. It really helps with the storyline, and it talks about the different dinosaurs, and she was like, I know that one, so it was kind of fun in that respect. The next book I don't have because I got it from the library, and it's one that you use over the first couple of weeks as a spine, but since I got it at my library, I didn't want to pay for it. It's called When Whales Walk. I really like this book itself. However, I will say it was kind of redundant with the information that we were getting from the Encyclopedia of World History. Frankly, at a certain point, I stopped opening it because I was like, I know I'm about to open When Whales Walked, and we're going to repeat exactly the information we got in here. So my recommendation is pick one or the other. I personally would go with this one because it has so much additional resources in the form of links. Also, you can use this amongst other, this is a spine for a lot of history curriculum, so I feel like it's a better investment in that respect, but it just kind of felt redundant. That's all. It's not that it was a bad book. I thought it was a really good book, just redundant. I think it was a little bit more mature, also would be better for an upper elementary, middle school student. The next book is a book that we added, per usual. We added this to week 3 because that's when you started getting into the Ice Age conversation, and we added in Magic Treehouse, Sunset of the Sabertooth, #7. Again, Both girls loved it. My oldest helped me read it because it's in her reading ability. It's got cute pictures and stuff like that. It really tied in well with the material that we were learning in Build Your Library. Another book that was a spine essentially for the last half of the program, it's when you start getting into humans, was When We Became Humans. It's the same series as When Whales Walked. I thought this was somewhat redundant as well, but again, it was a good book. So I just think you want to choose, or if you have a kid who just wants to read and read and read, include both of them if you have the time. I just, again, found it redundant. So I bring this up to say, if you're having to buy all the books, I hope this information helps you prioritize your budget and what you want to get. Still, a really great book, y'all. Like, it had a lot of good information, great pictures. This one didn't seem as older, like mature wise. I don't know why When Whales Walked. I think it's just the content, like the information you're going over is a little bit harder to grasp. This one didn't seem that way, so I had an easier time reading this after the World Encyclopedia. It just didn't feel that intense, if that makes sense. Next up is another spine. This is called Life Story. I really like this book, and so did the girls. You start at the beginning and you go through like the first 3 weeks, I think, reading this, and you read a little bit every day. And the way it is, it's like you're in the audience of a theater. You see, here's the audience, here's the stage, here's the curtains, and it starts you. Hold on, let me see if I can get to there we go. It starts you at the Big Bang, and every page you're kind of going into a new era or a new period, you see. And so the girls really liked it because it kind of created this narrative, but it was like you were on stage, seeing the earth change. So we go into dinosaurs, and then eventually mammals, mammoths, Ice Age. We started getting humans, hunter-gatherers, and then we started creating farms and settlements, and then it gets you all the way to the end where it's like us, present day. The girls really liked this. This was really good information. It was bite-sized in the way that the format was, so they grasped it really well. My recommendation for your lessons, start your lesson off with this. Be your first book that you read. And then, because it's kind of setting the stage for what you're gonna learn, do this first. Then I would go into your reading for either the encyclopedia or, When Whales Walked and When Humans Walked, whatever you decide to do. So do this next, and then do your Fossils for Kids reading. That is my suggestion. That is the best way that it flowed and kind of created this like whimsicalness for the information. That went really well. So next, I want to talk about the chapter book for the last 2 weeks when you're learning about humans, going from Ice Age into modern humans. It is Maru of the Winter Caves. I actually really like this chapter book. I think it's a really good one. It is way too mature for my youngest daughter. There's some really sad things that happen, survival, like the reality and the brutalness of living back then, and just having to survive. Somebody dies. That's a pretty pivotal character. Like, if your kid is sensitive, I forewarn you, just pre-read it and make sure that it makes sense for your kiddo. I excused my youngest, Charlotte, from reading this, or being around while I was reading it, because one, she couldn't sit for it for that long. The wording is very descriptive, and it just kind of lost her. She needed to leave. My oldest daughter, who's in 2nd grade, she really liked it. She is sensitive though, and she did have a hard time when the death happened. She was just, it got her a little bit. She still wanted to finish it though. She said, I want to know what happens. I want to know what happens in the end. Do they make it? And so it's a really good book though. I probably wish I had pre-read it. I may have waited until middle school to do this because my kiddos are a little bit more sensitive. But I think it is a good book, just maybe a little bit older, that's all. But since my daughter wants to carry on, we got a little bit behind on this because we did a trip to DC. So we've got 2 more chapters. And so we'll read those at the beginning of next week for our summer schooling and then finish it up and close it out. I'm probably going to keep it though, because I'll probably bring it back when we go back through Ancients later on, because I do think it is a good book. If you do decide to read Maru, the Winter Caves, you should absolutely get Jan Brett's The First Dog. This paired so well after reading it was 3 or 4, I can't remember. After you read chapter 3 or 4, because spoiler alert, they find a dog that they tame, and the dog is then with the family as they go on their adventures. This really paired well with that, and it was perfect for my youngest daughter, because my youngest daughter at that time was still reading along with us, but then it was kind of shortly after that I realized we need to, you go do something else. You go play Magma Tiles, craft, go play outside while your older sister and I read Maru of the Winter Caves. And last but not least, this is another spine that's recommended. I got it off Thrift Books for super cheap. Discovering the Cave. This is a step into reading book. So lots of good pictures. My oldest daughter read this, so it helped her with reading. And it's basically, you learn about, in France, a cave that these kiddos actually did stumble upon and found, and it had been sealed up for over, I can't even remember. I think it was over like 20,000 years, and there were cave paintings in there, and you learn all about this place in France. And then she also accompanies this with a video that you can go see the virtual tour of the cave. I mean, it was really cool. So I highly recommend, do not skip this part. This was really good. Next, I want to talk about some things that we really liked, some additional things that I stumbled upon and found, and I want to share those with you guys, and I'll link everything down below that I can. The first thing that the girls really loved was the fossil activity in the first week. Do not skip it. Even if you don't have all the ingredients to make the mortar or whatever you want to call it for the fossil, get some air dry clay or like something else like that, or even Play-Doh, and create the little fossils in it. It was really fun for the girls. Next, when you're going through the dinosaur week, I think it's week 2 and 3, go ahead and splurge, if you have it in your budget. On Amazon, there is a series called Walking with Dinosaurs. I happen to have some credits also, and it ended up being, I think, like $5 for the entire series. There's, I think, 6 episodes in it, and the girls watched one every day basically that week. They loved it, especially if you have a dino lover like I do. My youngest daughter is obsessed with them, so that was a big hit for her. And I'll link all this stuff down below. Another thing I was going to mention is that she recommends, I can't remember what week it is, but Walking with Prehistoric Beasts through PBS, or not PBS, I think, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was BBC, I can't remember. But the point is, the link she links it to is a paid one that you would have to pay for. I was able to Google it and find it for free on Daily Motion, so I'll link that down below for you so you can take advantage of the freebie. At the end of week 3, she recommends watching WALL-E, because you end the week discussing, what do you think, like evolution of humans, what do you think humans will be like in the future? And WALL-E is the perfect sci-fi cartoon kids video to watch for that. It also brought up a lot of conversations about health and not relying on technology so much. So that was actually another great conversation that got brought up. And last but not least, during week 4, instead of paying for Primates, which is the video series she recommends on PBS, because we don't have PBS, we have Disney Plus. We ended up watching Jane. It's just called Jane on Disney Plus, and it's all about Jane Goodall and learning about her work with chimpanzees and everything. It was really, really good. The girls really liked it. It's a documentary, don't get me wrong, but for some reason they were really enthralled with it, so it was really cute. Something else I was gonna say, if you do have it, we were fortunate that during this time when we were studying this, we went on a trip to DC for a few days to go visit my roommate from college, and we got to go to the Natural History Museum, and it was absolutely perfect because they have a whole evolution section in there about where we went from like Lucy, the Australopithecus, to like the hominin that was like close to it, like Neanderthal, and then moving into Homo sapiens, and then Homo sapiens sapiens. We were literally just learning about this, and we walk in, we're like, this is perfect. So if you have a museum close by you that you can get to, and it's free or not terribly expensive, and they have anything like that, natural history, go check it out. It really brought it to life for the girls. They really loved that part of it. It just was a kind of a happy happenstance that it happened for us the way it did. I didn't plan it. It just was dumb luck, to be honest. But if you do have that, really do it. If not, I know a lot of museums have virtual tours online, so if you can try and find one, maybe go check something else out like that for your kiddos. Some things that we like passed on or did differently, I guess is the best way to explain it, is she provides timeline pages in the activity portion of the curriculum. We did not do those. We used our own School Nest history timeline notebooks to basically put the timeline in, because these have a prehistory section. So this is mine. I did this along with them, y'all. So they have a section in here called prehistory. And so what we did was we used these timeline pages to truly create a timeline of when, you know, Big Bang coming into the Precambrian period with single-celled forms, and then I didn't color everything in. I only did the first 2 pages. And then we get into Cambrian period, Ordovician. You see here, the girls did the same thing. And I think that's so much like cooler because we have this in one book. We're going to do this for the next 4 years. I might get them a new one once we've gone through a 4-year cycle, or we might keep adding. And then maybe when they get into high school, I'll get them a new one. I haven't decided yet when I'll get them a new one. I think it just depends on how much they fill this up, to be honest. So we didn't use her timeline pages. We used our own school nest notebooks, which we used for a couple of the activities, and I'll explain that in a second. So here's my oldest daughter. The Earth was born 4.4 billion years ago, or yeah, 4.5 million years ago. So like they had fun with it. The drawing really helped solidify the information. And here's I was gonna show my youngest because she's so cute. Oh, I love it. Here's hers. You can't see if it's in the video. I need a better way to film here. So that was my 5-year-olds. The other thing that we passed on were these things that she had in the activity pages that we could copy off and print multiple pages, were field guides. It basically, she says, for each period, fill out this field guide, pick an animal that you wanna do research on. My kids are just a little too young for that. Also, there was so much going on during those weeks. I was like, we cannot fit this in. So it's one of those things that we cut out. And it's fine. But if you have older children doing this with you, have them do that. Do the extra work. I think it's a great resource. We just didn't do it because of our age and our schedule. The next thing that we didn't do with the activity pages she gave, but we did in here, is something called a family tree, the human family tree. So here, I'll find mine so I can show it to you guys. The human family tree starts when you start talking about the hominids. So not humans, but pre-human. Here we go. So this was the start of it, right? We started out, all mammals on Earth started from rodent-like mammals that survived the asteroid that killed all the dinosaurs. So we all are descendants of these guys. And then we turned into this, and then we continued into these guys. Do you love my drawings? My drawings crack me up. And then we went from Neanderthals to then humans. I didn't get a chance to put in my human, my last person's Neanderthal, so I need to put Homo sapiens in there. But so we just kind of basically continued the timeline. Instead of doing a family tree that we drew out, we did it in the timeline because my kids understand that a little bit better chronologically. And then the last thing I will say is that she provides copy work from Maru in the Winter Caves, I think. We skipped the copy work because 1, my girls do a lot of copy work in other parts of our curriculum, but 2, the copy work she provided was basically a paragraph, which is too much for certainly my 5-year-old, and even for my 7-year-old, it was just too much for her to write. So we just nixed it. It's not a big deal, but if you have an older learner, that would be perfect for them to utilize. So overall, we really enjoyed this program. It was a really big hit in our household with some modifications. But that's the best part about, I think, homeschooling and curriculum. Curriculum is a tool. It is not the end all be all. So make whatever you're using work for you. And we made this work for us. Again, if I could, hindsight's 2020, if I could go back in time, there's a few things that would change. And specifically, it just stems from the schedule. I would have changed the schedule a little bit and extended it, and then done some pre-reading, and probably opted out of Maru and saved that for later when we come back through Ancients the second time when my girls are in middle school. Those are the only big changes I would have made if I could do it over again. All right, y'all, we have closed out the school year 2024 to 2025. I think this is my last review of anything from this school year. It's kind of bittersweet. It was a really good school year, and ending on this kind of note with prehistory was so much fun, y'all. I highly recommend the program. Hopefully the information I provided you would make you be able to make it work for you. But if you have any questions about anything I talked about, leave them down in the comments. I'm here to answer any questions you got. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, y'all.